All right, let's just see.
I can't hear it though.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I can only hear you.
Oh, what is wrong now? Okay. Oh, I know what's wrong. Hang on. I think I know what's wrong.
So is Ray coming tonight?
Not sure. Not sure. Okay, we are now live. Good. Okay. Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. I personally got some crazy looking hair going on. Oh, well, ignore that. Anyhow, sipping on some Chardonnay tonight with my friends Holly and Cheryl, and others may join in a little bit. I think Heather's going to, and I think that hopefully Chris will, because Chris was the one with all the books. But Holly has a bunch too. I hope your seahorse tanks are great. I hope your reef tanks are awesome. Hope you had a better week than I did. And let's get started with the show. I hope you're sipping on some wonderful champagne or wine yourself. All right, sip and let's go. Okay, so a couple quick announcements before we get into chit chat is that as you can see, as you can see, the Zoom still looks a little pausy, and that is because Silly Kelly, as I told you last week, I got the new computer and I thought it was going to be as simple as signing in to the program that I used to do this live stream on the new computer, but apparently I don't really get all of it, but the MacBooks or the MacBook and MacBook Pro can't run some of the programs, like some of the things that were on the Windows version don't go to the Mac. So anyways, the new computer's here, but unfortunately I just didn't want to be super duper late, so I just went ahead with the PC again. Sorry. So if we get frozen or something, I apologize. But next week, promise, I will have it all figured out. I just thought it would be simple. My bad. Finally, last week we know we had technical difficulties, and but when we stopped the live stream, we had a really great conversation. Cheryl showed us some piping for fry tubs, and Dan jumped in, and we just had a great talk. So I do have that recorded. I was going. The reason it's not up yet is because I was planning on editing it, but like I can't, I just have no time. So bottom line is I'm just going to upload it as is. So you'll be able to find that after this episode. I will upload it just as it is, us chatting. So with no edits. Okay, now, and if anything happens tonight, if we get stalled or something dies or they freeze, then I will, of course, upload that recording too. So you'll never miss what we talk about. But okay, Holly, what's up with you?
So got some new stuff for my tanks recently. My Aqua arrived, and I had ordered some media bags and also
And here we go with the freezing. Holy moly.
I picked some out on Amazon. And it just so happened that the wave makers arrived with the media bags. And I was looking at the wave makers and media bags, and I was planning on covering the wave makers so tails don't get stuck in there. And I was going to use either some kind of mesh fabric and zip ties or some screen like I use for the overflow, that type of thing. But when I saw the media bags next to it, I'm like, you know what? The the wave maker will fit inside a media bag. They were just the perfect size and they zip up. So I
Nice.
put the wave maker inside a media bag and zipped it up and it works great. It's
That's
not pretty to look at, but that's not my tanks aren't that pretty. You know, they're just a home for the seahorses. The seahorses don't care, so
you're more about
so it's
function.
working great.
You're more about functionality
Yeah.
than, oh, beautiful. I
I
get it.
don't yeah, I don't have people touring my home saying, "Oh, what a beautiful tank,"
Right.
you know.
Yep. And have
So
you
the
noticed?
chillers are working great too. I want to say I got those chillers I bought. They were made in China. They were $500 for a third horsepower, and they were really hard to program. I have to say that because they are from China. The instructions weren't the greatest, but the company was very helpful. And now that I have them programmed correctly, they run great. So,
Good.
so just wanted to say that they were on Amazon.
Nice. Very, very good. Yeah, maybe we'll throw a link in when we're done. I'll get with you afterwards and get a link up. And so I had a question though about the Powerhead in the media bag. Has it restricted flow at all? Because I know that's something that people worry about.
Oh,
Like,
no, heck
okay,
no,
okay, because you cut
no.
off
And when you
it.
look at it,
Go ahead.
Which power heads did you get?
when you look at it, well, let's see if I can show you
Okay.
the one in the grow out tank. They're both from Amazon. I got this giant one. Let's see if I can get this to where you can see it. There we go. See how it's covered with the media bag?
Yep.
Okay, so that one is like a big double size, and I have that. That's in my grow out tank. And then in my display tank, I got single ones, and they were like, I think they were two for $27 on
Oh wow.
Amazon. They come in a pack. And this bigger one, I want to say was about $20
Oh
by
nice.
itself. But they were both on Amazon, and they were just one of those things that, I find a lot of stuff on there that, I mean, it's a really good deal, but you're wondering, like, is it going to work? Is it going to last? But I mean, Dan had recommended to me the Jabeo pumps,
Yep.
which are made in China. And I've had those going. My first one had it a few years now with no problem. So,
Right.
and the
Those
chiller,
are the ones I use too. So go ahead.
yeah, and the chiller, I mean, like I said, it was hard to program it, but the company that it came from was really cooperative, helping me. The thing is, they're opposite time than me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would send them something, they have a address for WhatsApp,
Mm-hmm.
so you can send them videos and stuff from your phone. So we were chatting back and forth via that and email. But the thing was, when I answered something, it would take them the next day to reply because they would do it overnight while I was sleeping, like at 2 a.m. or something,
Right.
because
Right.
they're on the other side of the world. So we were back and forth for about a week, on one of
Yeah.
the chillers. But once we figured it out, it runs fine.
And you froze a bit at the very beginning when you started talking about getting the Aquachar. By the way, hi Aquachar, hi Brian, I see you. Hello. So glad you jumped in. But anyhow, is the gosh, I'm stumbling over my words now. Is the mesh bagging, is that from Aquachar or was that separate?
No, I
Okay.
bought the mesh bags on Amazon. They were
Okay.
like 10 for $13. So I got those on Amazon along with the not Powerheads, wave makers. So that's why I thought to put the wave maker in the media bag because they arrived together. And when
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at it, and I'd already been thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Because if you zip tie stuff to it or tie stuff to it or whatever, it's a pain in the butt to
Yes.
take off and clean it and redo it. And these media bags have a zipper on them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is so easy. I can just zip it shut over
Mm-hmm.
it and unzip it when I need to switch one out and clean it or whatever. And they come in black. I have the white ones, so it's uglier, but I didn't plan on using them for this.
Right.
I
Right.
figured it out. Oh, I think I'll order some black ones and that'll
Yeah.
look a little better on the wave maker.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree with what you just said because that's how with my wave makers I used mesh netting and zip ties,
Mm-hmm.
and what you said is absolutely true. It's such a pain because you have to take it all apart and cut new pieces
Yeah.
and do all this new zip ties every time you have to clean it, and it's just and algae would grow on it. I just I think your idea is cool. The one other thing I would say is anyone at home that's looking for a neat alternative like Holly's, don't do nylon because I tried nylon. The holes are they're just too. It's too. It's not spread out enough to allow it restricts flow. That's what
Yeah.
it's getting at.
I was thinking that because I've tried that like stockings when I was raising fry.
Right.
I used stockings to cover like the intake on a pump or stuff like that. And didn't work very well.
Gotcha, absolutely. Hey, Alec. Hey, Dylan's. I'm gonna read your comment in just a second. But last question for you, Holly, about that is with
Mhm.
the aqua chart. I'm so glad you're trying it. Definitely come back and let us know how it does for you. I'll tell you this: since I put aqua chart in the new tank, I remember
Mhm.
I had all those bacterial, cloudy issues. I have
Yeah,
not had
yeah.
a single problem since then, and I really
Nice.
like it. I did add additional carbon after talking to to Ray and all of you a few weeks later. I added carbon too, but now the Aquachar is doing the biological and a little chemical, and I added more chemicals. So, are you mainly adding it just for those features that we talked about when he came on?
Mostly, yeah, just to help maintain the water chemistry.
Yeah.
I saw it helps with nitrates and good bacteria and everything. So I thought I'd try it. I measured everything um, with my test kits the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday, and I keep track of everything. So I wrote down what everything was, and my nitrates, they've actually gone down.
Oh wow.
So they're actually less than 5, surprisingly, right now, because they're usually around 20. So I don't know what did that. But so anyway, I'm starting out, at less than 5. So
Right.
my
Well,
phosphates are 0.25 right now.
right, and don't
Oh,
forget.
and another thing, I ordered a roadie,
Oh,
an
nice.
RODI
Yeah.
thing. So that's on the way. Then I'll be figuring that out.
That'll be a lot. That'll be very
I
helpful, I
think
think, for you.
that'll help too.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you're interested in aquaculture, there's a lot more benefits like that, like the biological side. We had a wine Wednesday with Brian from Aquachar. So just search on my channel for Aquachar, or and look it up and watch that, and you can learn all about it. I think we had technical difficulties that day too, but hey, you
I
know,
used the code and got the discount. That code works for a
yeah,
discount.
awesome.
What kind of IODI did you get?
I got the one from Bulk Reef Systems. And there was another one I was checking out. I think it was one actually you recommended to me, something pure.
Oh, me? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. I
I'm
can't
thinking.
remember the name.
I can't either. It's kind of long. It's something pure.
Oh, it's Pure Water Club or something like that. I think.
No,
Oh,
I, I
There's
have
a
it.
lot of
That's
many.
it. Spectra Pure.
Spectre.
Spectra
okay.
Pure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was comparing those and I read reviews of both. And the Spectra Pure, everybody says it's definitely worth it for the money. But the bulk reef supply, people said that works really well too.
Yeah.
And then when I compared the prices, though, there was a world of difference.
Yes.
Mm,
And that's why I went with bulk reef supply. And I'm like, well, I haven't had one at all
right.
since I started with the aquarium. So this will be an improvement. So,
Did you get
Absolutely.
and
the
somebody
75?
mentioned you can use the same stuff in the bulk reef supply. You can buy your additives from SpectraPure and use
Oh,
them
yeah.
in the bulk reef supply one. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yep.
Did you get a 75-gallon a day or a 150?
150.
Okay.
I got the
One
Smart.
thing
150.
about the 150s, did you get the one with the two two containers for membranes?
It's it's a total of 5 canisters, and I
Nice.
want to say they each have 2. I looked up like my TDS here runs, I think, 122 on average for our
Mm-hmm.
water, and we have chloramines.
Mm.
And and so when I was kind of researching, it seemed like the 5 stage
Would
would
be
be
good.
better because of the chloramines. I don't know how high is high when it comes to TDS.
Well,
I don't
mine's
really know
like
anything about.
Holly. Mine's like 432. So if that tells
Oh
you
wow!
anything,
So I
yeah,
guess ours isn't really that high, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the
but
thing
when
is,
those
did
systems
you get
take
the
it
one with
down
the
to
double?
0 or 5, that is a huge difference. So
yeah.
Did you get the one that has the dual chambers for your DI resin, or is it a single chamber?
I don't actually know. I want to say they were talking about something being double. So
Well,
I'm
you
going to
can tell.
assume it's double, but I don't really
It,
understand what they are yet till
it
I
could be
see
your film
it.
tech membrane holders or your DI resin containers.
Uh-huh.
But the reason I was asking is because if it's the film tech membrane holders, if you've got
Hmm.
two of them, it's designed in such a way that it goes to the first one, then all the effluent, bad water, goes into the second one, which tends to clog up the second one much more rapidly. And
Mm.
you can actually replumb it a little differently. So it
Ah,
go, so part of it goes into one and part goes into the other and improve your flow on your
So there you
on your
go, Holly. Just bring it to next week. Bring it on one Wednesday
yeah.
next week, and we'll go
Oh
through it.
shit.
And if you can remember after the stream, do send me a link to the chiller you got, because Dylan's little hobbies, hey, said on the topic of keeping cool, he's using fans to cool the tank, and one of them just burned out, and he got a new one, but the water got up to 78 degrees. He usually keeps it 73 to 75. And basically, what he's saying is the fans keep the water temperature okay during the day, but then at night they just get so hot apparently in Arizona.
Yeah.
So even with his
And see,
AC
I've
on,
been
it's
dealing with that. I mean, that's what I did for years, honestly. And the chillers are expensive. I'll say it's worth it if you can afford it. Mine, they come on frequently, but I have it set to within. It comes on within a degree. I mean, it works really well for keeping the water the right temperature, and you can set it a range so that it doesn't come on as often. Like you can set like a 4 degree difference if you want,
mm-hmm,
to where like you might set your temperature like at 70, but it won't turn on till 74, and then it'll cool it to 71.
mm-hmm.
And that keeps it from running as much. But I only did a 2 degree difference, but I set it a little higher. I've one set at 71 and one set at 72, but I have one that kicks on when it hits 74 and one that kicks on when it hits 73. And
Gotcha.
they're doing it. They matched up with my other temperature gauges, so they're reading the temperature correctly and they're working great. Just like I said, the problem was the programming. It's really hard to figure out without help. So
Do you need directions to I'm kidding.
I think the problem is they don't give you all the directions because they have it kind of preset, I think, when it leaves the factory. But what happens is the book was out of date, or it's two, like, I think they have two different ones. And instead of giving you the directions for each type, they gave directions for the type that they didn't send me.
Oh,
So, but they sent me correct directions to in an Amazon message on my Amazon account, but I didn't read it until after I was figuring out the chiller. So what happened was it wasn't showing what the book said it should show.
mm-hmm.
So I started pushing buttons and I screwed it up.
mm,
I screwed up the way that the temperature probe was reading,
yep. You know
how the
what?
temperature probe was programmed. So I screwed it up, and then
Uh-oh. Let's see if they come back or if I need to jump in and out. This will be better next week, guys. I know I always
they
say that.
had to. But if they did it, you would have been able to figure it all out on your own.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
I can see you going
sorry.
pushing buttons.
Yeah, me too. Hey, hey
I
guys,
screwed
you
it up.
you guys, it did freeze for a second. If it does it again, I'm gonna jump in and out. But Holly, what I would say too is what would be really cool is if you went on the Amazon reviews and put. I've seen a lot of things like my light that I got for the all-in-one was kind of a China knockoff, and
Yeah.
I looked in the
I plan
instruction.
on doing that. Put a review with some instructions,
Yeah,
just a few things that'll help people out.
absolutely.
Because somebody did put something that helped me, because at first we were trying to figure out which was the in water and where was the out water.
Right. And
because
you said it
it's
didn't
got
matter.
2
Right.
nostrils, and it doesn't say. And the thing is, it doesn't matter because the pump pushes it through.
Right. You said. Okay. Well, definitely.
I can see you draining your tank onto your floor.
Oh, jeez. Don't say that. Okay, so
Well, here we put both ends in the sump, so it wasn't going anywhere else. But
smart. Okay, guys, well, we could chit chat for hours and hours. Cheryl, and before we jump to the books, which is the topic tonight, anything new on your end? I know you're busy staining furniture and setting up tubs. Anything else going on with you?
Just mainly trying to get caught up on all this stuff for my son's room.
Yeah.
Basically, I got all raw furniture,
Mm-hmm.
the bed frame, a chest of drawers and stuff. And he doesn't like to stain, so I'm having to do all the staining and sanding and stuff on them. But that's fine because he's cleaned the kitchen, he's mopped the entire house. He's definitely picking up his end of it.
He's earning his
he's
way.
doing
Good.
your chores so you can make his stuff.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
Mom,
good.
I'll take care of the house. He's been cooking dinner for me every night.
Hey.
So he's taking care of me.
But still no fry, huh? Not yet?
I caught them again this morning, the one pair. She went over and hooked her tail around him, and they started pointing and rising. So it's just a matter of time. I've got 4 tubs set up right now, so I'm basically in good shape. I'm not panicking at this point.
Yep, and you're
But
so
I need
smart
to
to be. You're so smart to have, to set them up in before it happens. Yeah.
I got 2 of my young ones over there working on it right now.
Oh boy.
Well, the thing is,
yeah.
After this many years, I know when they start dancing, it's just a matter of time.
Yep. Sure.
And they're going to have fry. And in fact, what I need to do right now is set up a hatching cone and make sure that my brine shrimp cysts are still viable because it's been a while since I've used them.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And if they aren't, I'm going to have to order some fresh ones, which is something else I need to do by this week. I do everything anymore like weeks in advance.
Yep. Smart.
Because
smart,
I know
smart.
what I can do.
The only other thing I wanted to say to you, Cheryl, too, is it was interesting because you talked so highly of the orange and yellow seahorses you got from Ocean Rider. I just went to the site just to peek and check and see if they had any sales going on, and they're currently not shipping until I think the 16th or something because of heat, which is smart. But
I think September, right? Yeah.
Oh, they're down till September.
Well,
I believe it's September.
Oh wow! I thought
they said August. Like August 20th or something like that.
Still, August is like the hottest part of the year, so I'm kind of surprised.
Well,
where I
the thing is, it's not worth taking a chance when you know it's going to be in the 90s or 100s. And somebody pulls off a crate at the airport to move them to another flight, and they leave them sitting on the tarmac. Well, they unload all the stuff that has to come off that flight. And it's a much higher risk at that point.
I got my vitamins from them today. The Vibrants arrived today,
nice.
And they send it FedEx, and I want to say it shipped, I think, over a week ago or something.
Well, they're Hawaii. It takes a minute.
I have had 2 orders.
I'm in California.
Oh, well,
Well, I've had 2 orders stateside in the last week. Both of them came up with unexpected delays.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it might just be
supposedly
shipping.
They were out for delivery. Yeah, and then all of a sudden it comes up unexpected delays. We'll try to get it to you tomorrow, kind of stuff.
Well,
I had a FedEx shipment I was supposed to get one day. It was like last week or something. It said it was arriving, and all my stuff comes to the post office. So I came and checked with them, and it wasn't there. And then I went back and checked my computer, and they had changed the arrival date to a week later.
Oh wow!
And
but
but
you're talking. Wait! But you're talking
farther away. Like it went from close to me to far away, and then back. So I imagine they made a mistake or something.
Well, wait. My question is though, is that this is about shipping. This is about FedEx. It's not because of the company, right? They didn't change anything.
No, it's
okay.
not them.
Okay, just
FedEx is obviously going to having some serious issues right now.
right.
I don't know what's causing them, but there's obviously some problems going on the infrastructure there.
Yep, agreed. Okay, listen, before we get to books, I keep saying that, but Laura had a question. I think it was Laura. Let me look. Yeah, Laura had a question, and she asked, well, now I can't find it. One moment. Can I safely add sand over an existing sand bed? I've lost some sand through water changes. So can she just add new sand? Is there any problem with that? And it doesn't need to be mixed in. Dylan has done a great job of answering her, but I just wanted to get your 2 thoughts. Ms. Cheryl?
Well, my first thought is, one, depending on what type of sand you use. Obviously, we would like to use the fine sand, like the Fiji or some of the others. But it carries a huge amount of debris. So if you just add sand to the tank, you're going to turn it into basically a cloudy mess. So you're going to have to carefully rinse the live sand, preferably in salt water, and thoroughly clean it before you add it, and then slowly add it to the tank so you don't end up with basically a cloud cover in your tank. That would be my first thought. The other thing is, if you already have a sand base, you want to add it slowly because you're piling on more sand on top of basically part of your biological filter.
Yeah, and you don't want to like smother what's under there, but also
I've done it.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah, I've done it without problems. But I did a small amount over a several-day period.
Yep. And as I said, Dylan, you were answering the question very well. It's just the chat is very, very small on the screen. The people watch it later, so I always try to read the questions up here too. So, and she's using Carib Sea. Yeah, it sounds like you got you. And I like adding stability or bacteria or whatnot when you do things like that too. So really, sounds like you're good to go. So and I'm excited when you post
anytime.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, anytime you make a change in a tank, you really need to have some nitrifying bacteria on hand.
Yeah.
In case I don't care whether I keep it on hand. Anytime I'm bringing in new seahorses, I'm going to be ordering some Fritz Turbo Start 900 before my seahorses ever come in.
Yeah.
And the same thing with when I change things on tanks or modify. If I move rocks around in my sump, it's going to get hit with bacteria. It's just a safety precaution.
Absolutely. Oh, I don't know how my Siri got going. All right, go away, Siri. Anyways, no, and that's what we're here for, Laura. No matter the topic, anybody who watches these you jump in, ask the question. If I can't get to it right away, I will get to it. So, always ask questions. But leading into the books, finally, we can always veer off after we have the conversation. But the first question for you guys is, when people ask for a really good seahorse book, and I really hope, Chris, if you're out there, jump in if you can. We want to hear your opinions because this was his kind of brainchild here to do this episode. But when someone asks you about the best book on keeping seahorses, first off, does it matter a lot what the goals of the person are? Like, and the education level, or not education, experience level, because like as we get to talking about what's good and bad about these books, some are really more focused on like fry, dwarf kind of tanks versus keeping seahorses in the basic sense. So is that a big deal, you think? Does that matter when you're giving a recommendation?
I think if you're just starting out, basically read anything you can get your hands on. But once you've been at it for a while, you're most likely looking for some very specific information. And that's going to be harder to find. And it's not going to probably be in a lot of the books that are out there.
Yeah.
But the books are a great place to start. I mean, Martin's stuff is really good. I mean, I've got books going back 20 years now here on seahorses. But a lot of that information back then has changed.
Right.
So you have to be aware of that.
Well, that's the next kind of question is, I know Dan was going to write a book, and I was pushing him to do so. But that point you just made, that things change, and while the information he would share would be valuable forever and ever, anyways. Either way, even if things get, even if somebody came up with a better way, knowing the older way that does absolutely work is still good. But then you're competing with this new online world of social media where it's so like heck, FuseJaw was amazing and they updated it. So are books going the way of, going away? Or are they very
I
valuable
think
still?
books are the beauty of books is you can refer back to them.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot necessarily refer back to something that was previously said on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You may never be able to find it again.
Yeah, then you're like, now where did I see that? Where did I read that? Unless you wrote it down, and you might not see it again.
It's like I have a whole series of scientific articles on my computer
Mm-hmm.
where I go out and find stuff on seahorses and save articles. But that's a completely different thing because I can refer back to them then if I need to or if I want to.
Well,
But you can't do that with a book.
Right, absolutely, Cheryl. And the thing with, like on my computer, one of the reasons we're having so much trouble, technical difficulties with One Wednesday, is because I have 5 zillion pictures, articles, blah, blah, blah. I overload my computers, I admit it. But then the problem with that is then I can't find anything. I'm just not, which could be an organization problem on my end, but still, a book, you got it, you can flip through it, you can mark pages, you can
I
refer
like a
to
book
it.
because I can just go grab it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can just go grab it. Like this one, you can see, I've used it a lot just because if I want to look something up real quick, it's easy to grab the book and I can have it with me while I'm setting stuff up too.
Yep. And Chris said he's going to jump in and, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, it's like I've got Tracy Moreland's original book that she wrote. And that information is roughly 20 years old now.
Yep.
And it's not that it's a bad book, but it's definitely not state of the art compared to what we have now.
Yep. And that's one of the things, and that's why I'm glad that we're doing this, is because one of the things that kind of irked me is I ordered some books online when I first got started with seahorses, and like the definitions weren't very clear, and I ended up with a lot of books about like seahorses in the wild, species, and that kind of thing, which is valuable, but that's just not what I was looking for. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
so, Holly, until Chris is able to jump in, is the one you just showed us? Is that like is that which one you'd say is your favorite?
Yeah, that's my friend.
Well, this is my favorite that's useful. Because I'll put it this way. Actually, when I started with seahorses, there were very few books that would tell you anything about how to take care of them.
Right.
And so the most recent time when I got these seahorses a few years back, I joined a group. It was the same time I joined Seahorseorg, actually, and I joined this other group, and they're based out of the UK. So this was a book that one of the members wrote that they were recommending, and I ordered it, and I really like it. It does tell you all the basic stuff. Like it starts out, explaining equipment, and so it's a good book for a beginner. Things are a little different because it was written by someone in the UK. So some of the things like medications and stuff, for instance, not all of them are ones we have here, but some of them are.
A lot of the stuff you can't get anymore in the UK.
Yeah, and they have a whole section about raising fry and medications, and so I found it really useful in identifying different diseases. So I use this book a lot along with the Seahorseorg group.
And that book is the
A lot
book
of
by
facts.
I have a couple of books from UK authors. Tom Hornsby's is actually my favorite, and of course I didn't grab it to hold it up because I do have it.
Yeah, see,
Um,
I haven't seen the other ones. I've
but wait,
heard
wait,
they're
wait,
good.
Holly. I wanted to make
Not.
sure. I wanted to make sure we gave credit. So that book you were just talking about is by Mike French, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And what were you saying? Go ahead.
Oh, and I was saying I've heard the other ones are good that you were just mentioning,
Hmm.
but I just haven't seen them. I don't own those ones. So
Chris, you have that one, don't you? So you want to keep seahorses? Don't you have that, or you couldn't get it?
I've got it on the way. I've got the dwarf seahorses. So you want to keep dwarf seahorses book?
Yep.
But I did have the other one, but I lent it to someone and they just never gave it back. So I've got another one on the way.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I love. I'm trying to make you big. Sorry. Okay, I won't now. Too late. Took too long. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm going to. So this is the one that he is talking about. Oh, I still got Holly
I'm
highlighted.
not sure if it's reversed or not because of the
No, it's
forward
perfect.
facing.
no, you see it reversed. We don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks
Same
great
thing
for us.
happened to me.
Yep. And actually, Holly, why don't you go ahead and show your book, the Mike French. We might as well give these people credit, you know. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. And I do, and as Chris just pointed out, the Tom Hornsby book, actually, there's one on dwarfs and one on regular keepers. And what was your opinion, Chris, of those two books?
I think they're both fantastic. They're both really good references for both newcomers and more experienced keepers alike. And there's lots of fantastic little tips and tricks in there. There's a few things that are a little bit based on the perspective of someone in the UK, which doesn't necessarily apply to someone maybe in the US or Australia or many other places in the world. But you know, for what it is, I think it's a fantastic starting point for anyone who's looking to get into seahorses and wants to educate themselves or to just have a bit of a reference point to go to, because you know, if you run into problems at, I don't know, some ridiculous hour of the morning and there's no one online or whatever to help you, or you don't have any seahorse friends that are interested in the same things, then it's a fantastic reference to go to, and it can help you even if you get the book before you even set up a tank, and it might change how you actually set up your tank to begin with.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I know we're going to talk about plenty of books. I think Chris and Holly both have them laid out. Heather, I saw you did join. Hi. I will make sure we have time to hear an update from you, but I got to get the
Oh,
books out of
sure.
the way. Okay.
Yeah.
But so Chris, what would you say out of all the books that you do own? Is there a favorite, or you just like them all for different reasons?
I like them all for different reasons. Every different book brings something new or different to the table. Some books do certain things better than others. I've got a few books that aren't necessarily of interest to someone who keeps seahorses, because it's not going to help you keep them at home any better, but it acts like they're more books for the different species of seahorses in the wild, which is a fantastic reference and gives you an idea of just how many different species that there are out there and how diverse they are and where they're found in the world, and lots of interesting stuff that the seahorse keeping books
Example of
don't necessarily tell you.
I have that one.
Wait, let me
I
see.
love this book.
I'm trying to be. I'm not very quick. I'm doing too many things, guys. But I'm trying to make sure you're big when you show a book. I'm trying. Here, let's see if I just hit speaker.
A
Maybe that'll work.
comprehensive guide to Signanthiformes.
Is that the one you were referring to, Chris?
That's one of them. I don't actually have one of those here at home with me. I have one of those at work though.
Gotcha.
Really Peter's books are fantastic. They're top notch.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily talk about how to keep seahorses at home or as pets, but they talk about.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So it shows all the different types of seahorses, at least that they had discovered at the time. Because now there's more. This
That's
is actually
changed
an
too.
older version of this book, but
What year
And
was
very
it?
cool. Yeah, it's almost all pictures.
That's awesome. And I know
Beautiful.
Project Seahorse put out something very similar, and that gives you even more in depth. It's not a book; it's like an online book kind of thing. And I think that, well,
Mhm.
maybe they did make an actual book, but it
Digital book.
it really goes into details about like how you can tell which seahorses is which, like identification purposes.
Wow.
I
Mhm.
can't think of the darn word, ichthyology or whatever you want to call it. Bottom line is, saying, okay, this seahorse has a knobby coronet and, will have this many spines and just really
Mhm.
detailed information so you can identify. And then Rudy, does anybody have the one book I wanted so badly and could not find anywhere? You're probably holding it. Hang on, let me see. Is it wait a minute. Let me make Chris big
And
now.
their relatives.
I'm sorry, it's taking me a second. Hang on. Now we make Chris big. All right, let's see.
The thing
Place
is,
up.
this book doesn't just deal with seahorses. It's seahorses,
Oh yeah.
types, the whole 9 yards. And it was actually first published into uh, English in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so mine's the 2003 one.
Mm.
And then what year is this one?
This one here is, I think it's late 2000s or maybe 2009.
Yeah, so that probably has a lot.
Okay, I'm dating myself now, saying I got the 2000 petition.
But and so Chris, that covers what's the goal of that book? Like obviously it says and the relatives, so you got more pipefish stuff and pygmies
Yeah,
and all
so you've
that.
got lots of,
I think it's almost the same
Yeah,
title.
yeah, it
It,
is.
yeah, so they're all the members of that family, I guess, are in these
Ah,
books. But
gotcha.
the later the book, the more there are, I'm sure.
Right, and the
That
yeah,
one.
one a lot of pictures too, like mine. Is it all mostly pictures or?
yeah, lots of pictures, lots of
I love that.
information stuff, not just open a random
Yeah,
page.
yeah,
The print on this book is
I
so
like that.
small. I need a magnifying glass almost to read
Oh,
it.
there we go. Trying to spotlight. Yeah, and the one I was actually thinking of.
Yeah, I
Actually,
love it.
let's enjoy this awesome picture because that is really cool.
Mhm.
And it even yeah, yeah. Ooh,
And lots of information too.
yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like it has a little more information than just the pictures too, updated version. But what I was going to ask is, didn't Rudy do one? I know he did because I looked everywhere for it, and it cost. I ended up finding it, but it was ridiculous expensive. But it was on disease. Like I
Oh
can't remember
wow.
if it was just seahorses or it might have been fish and something diseases. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Are you
I'm
talking
gonna
about
look the
Naga?
book. Oh, about what?
Naga? Because he did a whole book on treating different types of fish.
Maybe I'm about to Google it while Chris is showing us pictures.
Oh yeah, 'cause this one, yeah, mine's the same way. Like in the beginning, it's all tiny writing, telling you all about them, and then it goes on where it shows the types. Then it has all the pictures. But it does say, yeah, it was originally published in 2000. It says First English, like you said, Cheryl, First English edition. And I remember when I bought this, it was a very expensive book.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's for what it is. I mean, it's not really that big. Yeah, I paid $60 for this back in,
Yeah. Hey, I paid $49.99.
and this was, I want to say I bought it probably 2004, 2005. So it was $60 then.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
They aren't cheap.
I'm seeing.
I think I got it at Monterey Bay Aquarium, I think.
Okay, well, I'm gonna because the reference to the book that I'm talking about that kind of deals more with disease was on seahorse.org. So when we're done here, I'm gonna find it and link it because I feel like I look crazy now,
Okay,
but I'm telling you.
Did you
what
say it
were
was
you?
the same author though?
I thought so, but I could
Think
very
so?
well be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm googling it
Was,
and I'm not
I
seeing
bet
it.
it's
So
really good then because this author is really good, I thought.
if Dan
There's a
if Dan
lot
hap
of information.
if Dan jumps in, I think he might remember what I'm talking because I asked him about it repeatedly. But anyways, moving forward. Okay, so That's great about identification and showing you the seahorses. We talked about the two UK books that are really good at teaching people how to begin keeping seahorses. What other books you got? Holly, you can go. Dwarf
This one
seahorses.
I just reread because I was getting ready for this show and finding, the different stuff about the books. And this one made me want to try Dwarf Seahorses again.
Really?
I thought it's an older book also. It was written in 2003. And there's some of it that's a little out of date, but most of it would work. Like, it tells you how to set up a tank and keep them. Yeah, they suggest a temperature of 75 for them.
Yeah.
And keeping them between 70 and 80. So that's one of the things I thought, okay, that's wrong.
Well, and while you're correct, and guys, I'm dealing with my kid. I'll be right back on screen, but I'm still listening and paying attention. And while you're right that that's like technically not what we say anymore, I think a lot of the older books, first of all, they may have been recirculating systems in some cases. Like if you're talking about a scientist or researcher
They're
writing it.
talking about goldfish bowls and
Right.
stuff, though.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they're just wrong. They're just wrong. Okay.
When I first started working with seahorses, the state of the art at that time for the like Beth Sebo and a couple other people I knew that were working with reed-eye was using goldfish bowls,
Right.
literally. And they were literally mounting the goldfish bowls in the main tank with a magnet.
Oh my.
Used plastic poles, put screen over the holes so they could, and then put a little airline in there so that they could get a flow through into the nursery system. Think about that.
Wow. Now, one thing they mentioned, they have a section about hydroids in here and preventing hydroids. And let's see, what is it they mentioned? Because I marked it. Fenbendazole.
Yeah, that's what
it meant using that. So, I mean, I thought it was cool that they mentioned that. I mean, I only kept dwarves one time. They lasted 3 weeks, and it was because of hydroids. They pretty much came with hydroids. But had I had this information at the time, I mean, that was a long time ago, maybe I could have got rid of them, and maybe they would have survived.
And now, of course, there's a Seahorse Whisperer video about dwarf seahorse tanks that mentions hydroids. But go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, so since I've done fry now, I read this book and I'm like, I could probably keep them, but then I'm like, they're labor intensive. I've already got enough labor with the big seahorses. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to start hatching brine shrimp again and all that. I'm like, no, I think I'll just stick to what I got, and then when I have fry, I'll have tiny seahorses.
That's right. I mean, and yeah, you get these.
They're about the same size.
In the video, we literally compare systems between fry and dwarfs because they have basically the same needs. Maybe fry are a little bit harder, different, but yeah, I mean they're, and as Dan always says, you have to like put your face up to the glass just to see them, But to each their own, whatever. And Holly, what was the book that you were kind of talking to us about after the show last week that was like way outdated?
Oh, this is an antique. I have a book I wanted to talk about. Actually found this in a thrift store. I used to manage Goodwill stores years ago.
Okay.
So I got this in a thrift store for like 99 cents. It was written in 1961.
Oh my gosh.
And I have found so much interesting and funny stuff in this book. One of the first things that kind of confused me in this book, it was talking about large seahorses. It called them Hippocampus hudsonius punctulatus.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's northern erectus.
And I had to look that up. I had to Google it to figure out because I was assuming they meant erectus. So I Googled it, and it actually took me a while to find out that's a synonym for erectus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But I guess back then they called them that or something.
well, what happened was there used to be erectus down in the Gulf in Florida area and the Keys. Then there used to be the northern strain, which were the I can't even pronounce it, Hudsiconius, which were actually the northern erectus. And it wasn't until they did DNA testing on them that they came to the realization that they were the same species.
Ah, so they used to have them as two. So
And
another thing they say in here, they predicted dwarves would become as common as goldfish someday. Dwarf seahorses. And here's how the directions of feeding your dwarf seahorses. Listen to this. You sprinkle the brine shrimp eggs on the water every day and let them hatch. Every week or two, you strain them out.
What a disaster.
Or you can hatch them in a jar and strain them through a clean handkerchief using a siphon so that you don't get the eggshells.
Wow.
They talked
Which
about,
I mean, it's cool. You know what? Well, let's give them a little bit of credit. It's cool that they were keeping seahorses alive back then. Thank goodness for people like Chris, Cheryl, Dan, all of you that have, we've all figured out how to keep them better. But go on, Holly. I'm sorry.
So he suggested that for large seahorses, you keep two that are roughly 4 to 7 inches in a 10-gallon tank with an under gravel filter.
Oh.
And what you can feed them live baby mollies, which you can raise, and convert to salt water. They talk about that. Baby guppies, adult brine shrimp. They do mention, as old as the book is, they say adult brine shrimp is not enough nutrition for them.
Wow.
Neither are mollies.
So what they really say you should be feeding them is what they call grass shrimp. And they mention you can go like to the ocean. I guess they assume if you're keeping seahorses, you're near the ocean because they talk about collecting the grass shrimp and quick freezing them.
Oh, wow.
And you can feed them the frozen grass shrimp and they'll eat them as readily as the fresh. You freeze them in small plastic bags. And they said you can also catch what they call fairy shrimp in ponds and creeks.
Okay, I want to see a fairy shrimp, first of all. Chris, do you have fairy shrimp?
Yeah, fairy shrimp are very similar to brine shrimp.
Oh, okay. See, didn't know. I thought maybe they look
They're
like
just
fairies.
little critters. No, I think they're just little critters. Like they're the freshwater version of the saltwater shrimp. I think.
Which that's like where they're messing up so big time is that I'm sure Cheryl's getting ready to say something to that effect that now we know that seahorses really need the critters from saltwater, right? And all I have to say is we're so lucky today. I feel so fortunate to have come after all of these people that have done so much experimenting and learning with seahorses to be able to just have the answers, now on keeping them easily. It's so cool. What were you going to say, Cheryl?
I was just going to say, there's, like in our area here in Texas, there are what they call ghost shrimp or glass shrimp. Some of them are actually coming out of the ocean.
Okay.
Some of them are freshwater. And people sell them, but they don't differentiate as to where they came from. And so you never know whether you're feeding freshwater or whether you're feeding saltwater. I don't buy them. I don't use them for that reason. But it's hard sometimes to say what you're getting.
Right. Okay, and I'm going back. I'm going to make you big again, Holly. And then Chris, I know you don't have much time, so I'm going to jump to you in a second and have you show us the books. But let me let Holly finish with this one. Go ahead, Holly. I've got you big again.
So this book, it has a lot of pictures too, and they're all in black and white. But he's got a picture, of a dad with the babies, and I think it's funny, when he's talking about them giving birth, he refers to it as the blessed event.
The blessed event.
The blessed event, which I'm not sure I agree with when I'm trying to scoop all those babies out of the tank.
I kid about it, but I made basically a pouch button to keep the males from getting pregnant, and they used to put it off with their tails. But everyone thought I was serious.
I was going to say, Heather probably doesn't consider it a blessed event either. I mean, it. Okay, Holly, anything else about that book?
Yeah, so in that book, no, there's a lot of, I mean, it's just old. So yeah, they even talk about aerating, like for instance, like if you're keeping dwarves and you don't use an air line, because when you're using a goldfish tank or whatever, they talk about using a cup to aerate the tank. Yeah. And look at this, that's an old hydrometer.
Oh wow. I'm not making her big because it's messing with the resources. Sorry guys. But yeah, no, that's really crazy. And now with the cup thing, though, I've had to do that before I got smartened up and got, generator and battery powered airlines. Before that, I had a time where my electricity went off and I had to use the cup method. So not cracking too much on that one. But as the complete aeration method, that's crazy. Come on.
Yeah, and I guess they used under gravel filters is what their
which is a haven for detritus to collect.
Time period was, yeah.
Okay, all right, Chris, I'm going to jump to you. Show me your books because I'm sure you probably don't have as much time as we all do all night long.
So I've got a book here, Seahorses, How to Care for Your Seahorses in the Marine Aquarium. This is a book by Tracy Warland.
Yeah, I've got that one.
So these guys are Aussies. You may have seen, I think it's David Warland on some of the Seahorse groups. Oh, yeah. He's still kicking around. This book's a fairly great reference. We actually used to sell this at Seahorse World in our gift shop. It's since run out of print. This book here was actually reprinted in 2009. But I believe the book is actually much, much older than that. I believe it's from around 2000-ish, maybe a little bit after, I'm not sure.
Well, it would have had to have been probably around 2000, based on what I know from David and Tracy.
Yes, yeah.
So
it's
go ahead.
Good reference. It's got everything from, the basics of different types of water parameters. It lists all of the different species of seahorses that were available here in Australia at the time. Wow. It's got a whole bunch of stuff on producing live foods and whatnot for them. A little bit of the information in here, I think, is a little bit outdated, but I think it's surprising for when it was made how much of it is still relevant. Nice. So yeah, it's a pretty good book. It's a pretty good read. If you can find it, it's very, very difficult to find in the current day and age.
We need you guys to. Oh, you said it's out of print now?
Yes, it's out of print. So if you can find a copy, nab it, buy it, definitely. But yeah, very, very hard to find, and we no longer sell it, and we can no longer get it. So yeah,
we all need it. We all need to go to Seahorse Sources group. I think David's in there and jump on him. I'm just kidding.
They got burned. They got burned with 2011 incident because their first shipment to the United States, which was quite a large number of populated seahorses, were rerouted back to Oz, and then were confiscated because of the nature of what was going on, and they lost, I don't know. Basically, it pretty much pushed them to financial ruin when that happened.
Well, Chris knows all about that. Oh my gosh, the problems with getting seahorses to the U.S. I'm over it. Ugh. Anyways, go on, Chris. Didn't mean to break in. Go ahead.
So next up, I've got another book, Seahorses: A Life-Size Guide to Every Species, by Sarah Lowry. Fantastic book. This is a really, really great reference. You can tell from all the little sticky notes up in here. I use it as a reference quite often. I have all of my species of interest highlighted in here. This isn't a seahorse keeping book as such, but it goes through a lot of the different species from around the world. Lots of information on seahorses in general, where they're found. There's some interesting stuff about seahorse fossils in here even. Lots of interesting information and some references in there. You know, they've got fantastic pictures. They've got life-size pictures within the book to give you an idea of how big these seahorses actually are in real life, with images that are blown up, of course, to give you more detail, better pictures, but references as to where you can find them in the world, you know, the sorts of conditions that they're found in.
And you would pull up Reviceps.
Very
Yes, definitely. Which is why they've got the sticky note on them.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I was going to say, all those sticky notes in a book that you own tells me that that's one heck of a book right there. Just for you to have all those. Definitely. Go ahead, sorry.
Definitely. You know, it's got other seahorses from other countries and that, you know, I couldn't dream of getting here because of Australia's import laws. So if they're not found in Australia, you know, I can sort of read about them and dream, I guess. But, you know, we use a lot of these as references for some of the different species that we get. And this gives me a good idea of what's actually here in Australia and what I can start bugging collectors about to try and get in terms of bringing new species into the trade. So it is quite a good book. It's a very good reference. Got a few seahorses that, you know, you don't see very much of.
Okay, now that's they're calling a zebra. Isn't there another? There's two different species, aren't there?
Two
that are marked similar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quick question about the book. So does it go into, and I'm just curious here because obviously it's just a great book, but does it go into any details about like obviously you said it tells where they're from. Does it go into detail about like the temperatures in that area? Obviously it's not aimed toward hobbyists, but could it be something that a hobbyist could be like, because we advised them a few weeks ago, when you're thinking about mixing species, the first thing is don't. And the second thing is look where they're from, what temperature. Does it say those kind of things or no?
No, well, it doesn't.
Okay.
It tells you where they're from, and you can extrapolate from that. Like you could actually look into, I don't know, if there's been research studies done in those sorts of areas, say on corals and that, like for corals, temperature is such a big factor that plays a part in coral bleaching and whatnot. If you can look at the areas where the corals are found, look at the types of depths that they're found, and if the seahorses are found in the same sorts of depths, in the same sorts of areas, then you can try and figure out the temperature from there. That's the legwork that I have to put in if I'm looking to keep a new species. It's not something that most collectors freely sort of share. You know, because they're collecting so many different things, they can't remember what the water temperature was on this given day of collecting when they found this and that and the other. So they might be able to give a rough guide.
You mentioned that, Kelly, in this book that we were talking about earlier by Rudy. It actually does mention habitat in this one.
Oh.
I'm seeing they're talking about in estuaries, in sand channels, usually found in sparse seagrasses, depth of the water, how far away from the shore. So this one actually kind of does. I don't see anything about temperatures really per se, but they talk a little bit about the habitat at least.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And as someone who's trying to get new species in from different areas from the wild, and then try and get them started in the aquarium hobby, if you find out exactly where the seahorses have come from, and you can track down people, or if you know people, or if you know, you can get people to check what the sea temperatures are in the area at certain depths or in certain areas, you can find the real life information of you know, what temperature ranges the seahorses come up against or experience in the wild, and you can go from there to try and figure out what temperature range they will accept in an aquarium setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can pretty much Google anything now if you just research that area, and so, I bet you could find that out.
Yeah,
All right, so that's on my wish list. That book is on my wish list.
Yeah.
Well,
Next
one of
one.
the difficulties I've had with that is
And it's still in print as well. This was printed in 2016, so very recent book, still available. Really, really good reference if you want to see all the different species of seahorses. You know, there may have been some others that are discovered since that aren't in it, but it covers most of the species in the world.
Who is that by again?
Sarah or Sarah Lowry.
Okay. Lourie, right? I think I remember. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I know Sarah Foster, who again is with Project Seahorse, who came on one Wednesday. She also has some things coming up too that will cover some more of the more delicate species. But sorry, Chris, go ahead. Next book.
So yeah, I've got the one by Tom Hornby. Really, really great for the seahorse keeper, or if you're looking to keep dwarf seahorses. For this one, obviously, he does have the much bigger one that's for keeping just regular seahorses, or not dwarfs, basically. But I believe it's actually getting harder to find right now. I had quite a bit of trouble tracking mine down. Mine's actually on the way here to Australia from the US. So you might have trouble finding Tom Hornsby's other book, but fantastic reference. Lots of really good information in there. A lot of these books, you know, books do get outdated as time goes by, as different techniques are developed or different things are discovered. You know, we're miles ahead of where we were 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, a lot of these books, you know, it's surprising how much of it is still relevant even in today's day and age. You know, a lot of it has changed and updated, but you know, so much of it is still relevant. I've got another book here. I can't actually tell you very much about it. It's Seahorses, Mysteries of the Ocean by Catherine Wallace. I've only just got this. I haven't actually had a chance to read through it properly. So I might talk about it at a later date, but I'm a little bit biased. I like the seahorses that are on the cover, so I bought it on a whim.
We don't have a love for the zebra seahorses or anything, right, Chris?
No, not at all.
Of course.
Not at all.
Still a good book. Okay. And yeah, I wanted to say before you go on to the next one, or have something else to say about that one, or you don't because you haven't read through it very much yet. But we look forward to what you say about it later. But with the Tom Hornsby books, if you are having trouble finding them, Tom is our personal friend. So reach out to us. We will make sure, you know, we will get you in touch. Make sure you can get those books because I agree they're very good. I don't have the dwarf one because I wasn't into dwarfs, but I do have Tom's bigger book. I'm glad you came, Chris, because I forgot to grab it out and show it before the stream. But definitely reach out if you need to, because we can get you a copy. And I will put links to all of these books in the comments afterwards. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry. Move on.
No, that's okay. So the next book I've got here is Seahorses as Pets. Seahorse Complete Owner's Manual, Seahorse Care, Health, Tank, Costs and Feeding by Edward Eldington, I believe it is. This book is pretty good. I've read through it. It's pretty comprehensive in a lot of the stuff it goes into. It talks about a lot of different species from different areas that obviously I don't have access to, so I'm not 100% sure how relevant it might be to some people. I was looking in here earlier. I'm not 100% sure. This one was copyrighted 2015, so I'd assume that it was printed around about 2015, 2016 maybe. Really, really good. There's quite a few interesting things in here. Like there was a section on seahorse health, and it goes over some of the different common sort of issues, things like pouch emphysema and that, which aren't really covered by many seahorse keeping books.
Right.
And yeah, so I thought that was really, really interesting. It's not one that I've actually seen that available online, so I'm not sure if it's out of print or if it's still very current, but it's another good reference. I think, you know, people might have their preferences, whether you prefer, you know, Tom Hornsby's books or Mike French's books or Rudy Cooter's or Sarah Lowry's or, you know, even this guy's. But I think if you're a seahorse keeper just looking to start keeping seahorses, I don't really think it matters all that much whose book you decide to get. I think just having a book and having references, you know, it'll put you on the right path regardless of whose you buy. So, I mean, I have my personal preferences, but I think it ultimately doesn't really matter. Getting some good literature and whatnot, it'll put you on the right path. And with today's current age of Google and whatnot, you can soon
use the information. Yeah.
Yeah, just don't go buy the 1961 book.
No, don't buy it from a pawn shop, please. But
I mean,
Chris,
if you find another one, you feel free to buy it and send it my way.
Well, there you go. But Chris, you one thing that you kind of delved into right there that I haven't heard so far, and I know is briefly and all, because I'm rambling. I agree with what you're saying, because like Tom Hornsby, Mike French, they try to cover a lot of topics in small sections, which is good. It's trying to give you an overview, help you set up, get you ready for any, you know, crazy emergencies, tell you how to take care of the tank, which is valuable to a new seahorse keeper or even a person that's been keeping seahorses. Absolutely. But the one thing that I don't think, my personal opinion here, that any of these books dive into is feeding. And, you know, if you're looking to do fry, how to enrich and all of that stuff. So you said that this book goes into feeding. Is it just a basic overview?
Which book was that, sorry?
The last one by the guy that I can't remember his name. Sorry.
One by Mike French does. I mean, he even tells how to build a brine shrimp hatchery.
Okay.
So he does actually go pretty much in depth about enriching too, and what to use.
Well, that's great.
Which is not what I use, by the way, but like.
Right. Just the idea that they're getting across the point. Hey, you've got to enrich the brine shrimp.
Yeah, and I think part of it is like because it was written in the UK, it's what they use.
Yeah.
Right. So
they
it's Tom's words. I'm kind of leading up to the fact that a book that's often been recommended on Wine Wednesday is the oh my gosh, I can't think of the dang name. I put it on the cover of the thing, but an actual feeding book. But please go on, Chris, while I look up the name. Because
so this book does cover feeding seahorses, but it doesn't actually cover any live food. So this mainly goes from the perspective that you'll be feeding them frozen.
Gotcha.
So it probably isn't so much from a. It does talk about breeding food for fry, but I think it's mostly the you know, just the basics with brine shrimp. It doesn't really go into that much detail with it. But I mean, you know, having a book like this is a great starting point. From
this one is actually where I learned how to culture copepods outside in buckets.
Oh, nice.
And that was why I wasn't sure, because of where he is, if it would work in my climate where I live.
Yep.
But it turns out it does for part of the year.
Yeah.
But then we get too cold in the winter.
So do they in the UK.
And maybe it didn't where he was, or I think he was talking about doing it year round. So I don't know what part he lives in, but it's too cold.
Well, I know Tom did that too. I can't remember honestly off the top of my head if it's in the book, but I know that he was pulling him into a garage or something during certain parts of the year. So maybe that's it. And I just want to say before we move on, the Plankton Culture Manual is one of the ones that everybody recommends. Like if you're going to do seahorses, more if you're going to do fry. If you're going to try to raise fry, you need that book. But
that's one I'd like to have that book. I've heard about it too, but I think it's pretty expensive, isn't it?
They're all. I mean,
I
the good
think
books
it's
are.
It's not
I
as
think
bad.
is it not? I wanted to say it was like a really expensive book when I looked it up.
It
But
used to be, but I mean that book's been around for a long time also. Mine.
probably could find it used for not a whole
Yeah.
lot now.
What were you gonna
So
say?
I've got a really, really old blast from the past here. This one here is a second-hand book that I picked up in a used bookstore. This one here is Encyclopedia of Live Foods by Charles O. Masters. It was also made by some other guys that are referenced. But this one here dates back to 1975.
Wow, that's nuts. Oh my gosh. Is it good though? I mean, that's pretty incredible if it's good.
There's some pretty cool stuff in there, but a lot of it's very, very basic and maybe a little bit outdated. They talk about the nutrition of certain things as opposed to other things. I believe this is way back before enrichment was really a thing, but they go into some pretty cool details about how to use what sort of bugs to use to feed your fish.
That's a grasshopper on that one page, looks like.
So, I mean, it's not necessarily a seahorse-specific book, but I sort of bought it on whim because I thought it was hilarious. But it is actually quite good for when it was made.
One of my books about seahorses talks about raising mosquito larvae.
Oh, wow.
Seahorses. And this was the first book. When I first kept seahorses, this book was brand new.
Wait, hang on. I got to make you big. Hang on. Okay, go ahead.
It came from the pet store. This book was brand new in 1990.
Oh, Pete did that book.
And that's when I had my first seahorses.
Yeah.
It was 1990, right when this book came out. And it's got, I look at these old pictures, like look at their salt mix and canister filters and
wow.
And
I will say too that Pete actually still does the online questions and etc. for Ocean Rider. So he does try to update that information.
Oh, so that's who wrote this one, huh?
Yeah.
So that was my first seahorse book long, long ago. And so back then he said to use a 15-gallon tank for up to 6 adults.
Oh my gosh.
The best results. You could keep 2 large pairs in a 10-gallon. Or 5-gallon for a pair of giant seahorses, and the ideal temperature is 78 to 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And he said to use an undergravel filter with a small canister filter and use poly pads and Chemipure packs. And unplug the canister when you're feeding them. It was all about low flow back then.
Yes, that's a big thing that's changed.
And here's what he said to feed them is grass shrimp, like the other book said, or culture Gammarus locusta. I don't know what that is, but for if you live inland, he said, what you can feed them is adult brine shrimp, freshwater Gammarus fasciatus, don't know what that is, mosquito larvae. That's the book that talks about mosquito larvae.
Wow.
Bloodworms, Daphnia, blackworms, live baby guppies, and mollies. And he also mentioned, like the other book, that adult brine shrimp are not enough nutrition.
Well, again, I'll say it's really cool.
Live a year if you feed them that.
I think it's really cool that they had some of the things right back then. And I would just say, if you're, when you go out to get a seahorse book, get one that's in the latest century or something.
Now, here's something he said I got a kick out of. He said it's unusual for large seahorses to court in an aquarium.
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, if you put them in a 10-gallon, no wonder.
Right, because they were doing things wrong, and
I wouldn't feel like courting either.
Actually, what's kind of interesting about that part to me, though, and Chris, I am jumping back to you because I know you have a few more books to show us, but what's interesting about that to me is that the temperature would doesn't higher temperature kind of entice them to breed, which I understand if they're just in poor conditions, they're just not gonna.
Yeah, if
But
your water's clean, it's fine. You know, it's
right.
the bacteria we worry about. But
So
yeah, if
if
you
they're
work
talking about
that,
if P was back then, obviously he's made updates to his advice at this point.
oh
But
yeah,
back then, if he was doing 100% daily water changes or something and had a higher temperature,
you'd be okay.
well, I would just
Well,
think they would breed. But
it's kind of funny though because erectus typically seahorses typically have a breeding season, and my
yeah,
erectus typically will start reproducing late October-ish through through August, September. My combs, which are technically from a warmer water area, based on all the reading that I've done about their habitat, they actually start reproducing in the winter and
huh?
reproduce through and basically back off usually about March or April. So, but it's
Wow.
my water's significantly cooler in the winter months here, but that's their
So it might
breeding.
depend.
So
It might really depend on the species. Well, that's yeah. Okay, that makes sense then.
Well, and
Um,
mine don't seem to stop really. I mean, there's maybe a month or two.
yeah. Right.
Like I think even Cheryl, I think you said it was like October through August is what you said.
yeah,
And
they'll
that's
usually start
most of here.
yeah, they'll start dancing usually uh, basically right after summer, start reproducing, and they'll usually tend to slow down. They'll keep going for 4 or 5 months really heavy, and then they start to back. You can see them start slowing down.
Well, and
Hmm.
I'll say to Holly, when my seahorses first started breeding, they were rabbits, and it seemed like they'd never stop, and it was just on and on and on. They never took a break. But then after like a year or two of
Well,
them breeding, then they started taking these long breaks. In fact, I had to ask Cheryl and Dan, are they done breeding? And they'd be like, no, and then there'd
no,
be more fry. So
Yeah.
they're like teenagers when they first start breeding. They're like teenagers in the back seat of a driving movie.
yeah,
Then as they mature, they do get it more together, and they do take time off.
yeah.
What so it's one of they do take breaks, and in the wild, from the reading I've done on several different species, they are definitely tend to be seasonal breeders.
Right, and that's what's so cool. I'd love to like talk more about that after later because that's interesting. I know she got the months wrong, but I agree they take breaks, and it's interesting to me that some seahorses breed in warmer water, some or warmer weather, and some in cooler. That's interesting. But I did want to mention real quick too, because two of the books that I wish I had that I don't is the Plankton Culture Manual, and this is for people that want fry and to take care of fry. The Plankton Culture Manual is like excellent, and just this is more about fish, but the topics in it are very good, so I had to mention it. The Complete Breeder's Guide to Marine Aquarium Fishes by Matt Peterson and Weinrich. I hope I said that right. I've met both of those guys. Matt Peterson's helped me on many different things, and the book is really, really, really good, very detailed. And now I'm going back to Chris. Next book. Sorry.
I don't actually have any more
Oh,
seahorse books here with me
okay.
right now. So I've got a heap of them. I've probably got as many seahorse books as I have here. Also on the wave, I went on a bit of a late night eBay binge and online ordering binge and ordered a whole bunch of seahorse books. I probably don't need, but we were talking about this topic, and that really got me curious as to what other seahorse books are out there. And so I've got the books, both books from Mike French coming. I've got some more books from Rudy Kuda coming, and a few
Nice.
other books by some authors whose names I can't remember, but got all sorts of books coming. I think some of them are from a seahorse keeper's perspective. Some of them are the seahorses in the wild and some of their relatives and whatnot. And honestly, I can't even remember half the stuff that's coming, so it's going to be a surprise for me as well when it arrives.
Awesome. And now we are tasking you to come back and give us reviews. We want the reviews of which books we should buy, which are good, which are bad, and why. Awesome.
Of course. I'll have to read the one that I haven't read yet, and I will have to read all the new ones that are coming, or the ones that are replacing the ones that have been lost from my library, and I will come back and I will be able to give an informed decision as to which ones do what well and which ones maybe lack in certain areas, to give a bit of a buyer's guide, I guess, to which books to get based on your own needs.
Well, we will look forward to that, and you just let me know when you're ready, and we'll do a full episode on it, and you can run it, and tell us all about it. And if you do have to go, feel free, but we love when you join us, and I do have something to tell you later, so if you leave, check your messages. But Miss Holly, did you have some more books to show us?
Just one more.
Okay.
One more. This is the one that I won in the MACNA Seahorse event. So this was the one that was sent to me. Susan, I want to say, in Texas. She works at an aquarium there. I don't remember her last name.
Paula.
Maybe you remember.
Paula Carlson.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name, but yeah. So it's designed for kids, but it's fun because it has a lot of seahorse facts, and it has some really cool pictures. Especially.
That's a pygmy if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, this is a Coleman's pygmy seahorse found only around Lord Howe Island in Australia. And it's a newer book, so they did have some newer stuff. There's another great picture of a pygmy seahorse.
Yeah.
Wait, hold it up straight. Let me see. Okay, which one's that, Chris? I can't remember the name. Bargivanti. Yeah, I think you're right. And hey, if you're interested in pygmy seahorses, by the way, go check our just search on the channel for Graham Short, because Graham Short is the person, one of the people that helped define the Japapigu, the newest pygmy discovered. No, I think there's one more.
And the seahorses. So yeah, a lot of great pictures in this book. It's actually pretty cool, but as you can see, it's big, simple writing. It'd be good, for kids, I think, middle school age, maybe, elementary school age, late elementary. And it's got a lot of seahorse facts, and beautiful pictures, I think.
Very pretty.
But yeah, it's not at all about taking care of them. This is
Introduction to Seahorses.
It's still a cool book, and we shout out to Paula Carlson. Thank you so much for not only participating in the Seahorse and Pipefish event at MACNA coming up in September. Make sure you're registered. But also,
by the way, I did
ahead.
have a question on that, Kelly.
Go ahead.
Because I followed the link, clicked on add to cart, and then I never got anything else.
I know how to do that. I had the same thing happen, Cheryl.
Okay, tell us.
So the way you get to the cart is go to where the tickets are, and you know how it shows a square for each ticket?
Yeah.
When you hover over one of those squares and go to the top half of the square, suddenly a button will appear that says go to cart.
Yep. I forgot. You're right.
It took me forever to figure that out.
Thank you.
And yeah, they need a better way to get to your cart. I was thinking, like, most places you go up to the right corner and there's your cart, or a place to go to cart. And this one, I had to hunt and click on everything until finally. Another thing is when you first order a ticket, it'll show up on that page.
Yeah, it did.
The cart. But then I went and got another ticket.
Yep.
And then I went and looked at T-shirts, and then I went and looked at stickers, and then by the time I looked at all the stuff, I couldn't figure out how to get to the cart.
Well, I have both Joanne and I have said this to MACNA and Masna. However, I'm going to take this portion of Wine Wednesday and send it as a video to Kevin. So Kevin.
We have some advice.
But thank you.
I went back up, clicked on add to cart again, And it said,
Oh,
you can't add yourself twice to the cart.
and you're like, what the heck?
And
Well,
I'm
Yeah.
like,
thank you. And Cheryl, if you really like, if you go back and it's already got you in twice or something, just text me or message me or whatever, and I'll help you.
okay.
Because I
Well, see,
definitely
it
want you
never
guys
let
all to be
me,
there.
it never gave me any kind of finalize. It just said you already have added this to your cart.
Yeah, that shouldn't.
Yeah.
So just message me, and anyone out there watching, if you have trouble, you can absolutely feel free to message me, and I will help you get through it. Because we want you there, both at the Women in Reefing and the Seahorse and Pipefish events at the upcoming MACNA early September. I think it's the third and no, it's the fifth.
Yeah, it's Labor Day weekend
I
for
know.
us. And I have a car show that day. We're going to be in a car show and races and stuff. But I think I can do it from my phone. So
Yeah,
if I'm in a situation where I can get away or that's about the time I think we leave for the day. So I can probably see it on my phone, I think. If
absolutely. And I'm going to try to do a little, like, I can't tape the whole thing because everybody that comes doesn't necessarily want to be on camera. But I will be taping, like, any talks or anything like that as I did the previous year. And, but we want you there live. And don't forget, it's all free. To go to the actual MACNA events, which I also very highly recommend because they're really fascinating. They have great speakers. And for the people in Australia, this is the last possible. We don't know what they're going to do in the future, but this one's virtual, so you don't have to pay a lot to get there or hotels or any of that. You just get online. The MACNA ticket for the 2 or 3 day weekend is only $50, but the Women in Reefing and the Seahorse and Pipefish events, if that's all you're interested in, are free, and you just have to add them to the cart. And as Holly said, hover over it until you see the view cart, and then you check out, but there's no cost. So if you have any trouble, get with me because we want you there. We want to share, and yeah, and I'm gonna have my merch on, so there's that too.
the
Don't forget.
social events are free too. You can do the
Yeah,
MACNA socials are all free also. So I think there's
yep,
one Friday and one Sunday.
yep. Thank you, Holly.
They've got a
And
virtual meet and greet and a virtual end of program and all kinds of stuff going
oh
on.
yeah, and the end of program. Now see here, let me just really quickly tell you how this goes. So the MACNA event, they try to keep really professional. You know, like there's speakers, there's topics, there are prizes and all this other good stuff. You get to hear from the vendors and etc. And I still say the MACNA event itself is still worth going to virtually. I'm excited for next year when it's live, but last year was great. The mini MACNA was great. This one's going to be great too. So I still advise getting that. But if you just want to come to Women in Reefing and or Seahorse and Pipefish, free. And then those after the event get-togethers is so cool because listen, people, this is when everybody lets loose. We're done with the professional stuff. It's time to you get to see people's tanks. You get to talk to people
Mm-hmm.
that you'd never ever. One of the best things about MACNA to me, the live and virtual, is that you talk to people you'd never talk to. The reason that I knew Richard Ross to come on Wine Wednesday is from MACNA. You know, half the people that you see come as speakers or, you know, in videos is because I've
Yeah.
met them at MACNA. So just saying, all the free events are great and MACNA's great too. Now I'm going to zip it and quit talking.
Have you ever seen the pictures on seahorse.org of some of our old members?
Oh, I've
going
heard
to
about
stuff?
them.
Oh,
I've heard about the Halloween parties. But anyway,
there's some interesting stuff there.
I believe you. Hey, real quick, Heather, you've been hanging out with us all night. I wanted to get an update from you. What's up? You said you
Oh,
got some things updated?
yeah. Actually, well, my question is for Holly for her book. My friend did a new one because I'm one, and so is my seahorse.
Did that break up for you guys or just me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear. It was breaking up.
I'm
Try
sorry.
No, it's okay. Just on phone, try not to move. That's all.
Okay.
Freeze.
What year was your Mike French book written?
It's it's not the newest one. This one's 2017.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Yeah, it is 2017. Yeah.
I was wondering because he contacted me and he wanted a picture of my seahorse in his book.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
so
seeing that. But
it's in
yeah,
the
no, I
mail.
had the book
Yeah.
before that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
So wait,
sure.
wait, wait. Is your seahorse in the book?
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
haven't.
the newer one, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, and he credited me, so I'm in the book. And in
Nice.
exchange, he gave me a signed copy, but it's
Oh.
en route from the UK. I was gonna show it tonight, but someone did already get it, and I have it on my iPad.
Show us. Oh, let me wait. Wait a minute. Wait, hold still. Let me make you big.
Okay.
Holly, go away. I'm just kidding, Holly. You're still big. Okay, now, why is it
That's
still
the
Holly?
Hippocampus erectus. I recognize that.
Aw,
Aww.
yeah.
Which
And
seahorse is that, Heather?
that's Cash. Yeah,
Gosh.
he came from Ocean Rider, but he doesn't have any saddling, so I guess that's why Mike wanted to compare, because he doesn't
Gotcha.
look quite like an erectus. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't seen it yet. Someone sent me a screenshot of it, but he sent it like beginning of August, but I
Oh,
guess
wow.
with mail and all that. So, yep. So
Yeah.
I'm on page 83 in my Seahorses. So if you get the new one, you find me on
Yeah,
83.
To
Very
me, he looks
cool.
more like erectus than a lot of the other erectus that we
Yeah,
see.
I agree. And I was going to
Yeah.
say,
He's the classic line seahorse, which
Beautiful.
It
is correct.
reminds me of Dandy. I think we talked about that before because Dandy is striped like that.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's not saddled either.
okay, well
He's
now
a
we're
little better driver than Dandy,
now
but
we're tasking
Yeah.
now we're tasking you, Heather. Chris has the task of coming back and rating all these books, and then you have to bring the new Mike French book back and advertise
okay.
it and show us because that's
All
awesome.
right.
And
Sounds
what's
good. Yep.
and is everything else good with any updates on the 150? Anything new going on with the seahorses? Go ahead.
Yep. Well, it turns out the 150 was actually not 150. After I measured it, it was like
That's right.
it's a weird size, 135, but it's still big. And they were in a 90, so it's a nice upgrade. Yep. So I can show it to you here.
Yeah, let me make you big real fast. Sorry, it takes me just a second.
Ooh, pretty.
Of course, I don't have to.
It looks like they settled down from after since they got in there.
Well, yeah, they all just ate, so they're
Yeah.
like napping.
Yeah.
They're chillaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you can. Am I
I can
going
see one
too
right there.
fast?
No, you're doing great. I can see one right there. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
they are.
And you got the leaves again up top. And the rings. The rings. I love the rings.
Yeah.
I need to post an updated picture of my tank because I copied and I added the rings. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, they love the rings. And well, I ended up my local fish store. They had itty bitty combs, and they looked so sad. And I shouldn't support them, but I did. I bought 2 of them.
You've got
they're
combs.
Yeah, they're like their size of maybe 2-month-old fry, like
Oh
way
my
too
gosh.
small. Yeah. So, and actually, I got 2 of them. They're really cute. But yeah, Cheryl was right. They're like nothing like erectus. Like they're so like their feeding habits and they're not as active and they just
Picky.
yeah they're really cool though. But they're so tiny. I had them in a 30 when I was setting up this tank and I couldn't even find them like ever.
Wow.
So I got them in a 2012 for now. Now once they grow, I got a 30 and I can go up to 55 for them. But let me show you. I don't know if you can see them. Can you see them on that orange?
They're on the orange?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I do in the middle, kind of, huh?
okay, hang on.
Right.
Heather, if you could, like once you're focused on them, don't move. I'm not trying to be bossy, but
No, I don't. Okay.
no, you were focused on them, but then like don't move.
It. Yeah.
I know it's hard. I see them; they're just blurry.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, they're
so
both on that
little.
orange.
Yeah, I
see
see
'em.
it.
Yeah. They're like, I don't know, less than an inch and a half.
Wow.
Like, yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have supported them because that fish store shouldn't even be selling them that small. But I figure I'd do all right with the Rectus. Maybe they got a better chance with me than someone else. So
That's
I
I
did
don't know.
I did the exact same thing with ghost pipefish, and
Mm.
unfortunately I failed. But ghost pipefish are way different than seahorses. Whereas combs,
Yeah.
you've got Cheryl to help you, and you know
Mhm.
we're all here for you. And you're already an experienced and great seahorse keeper, so you are their
Oh,
best bet at life. And it is
oh,
I I hate seeing very small, obviously not ready seahorses
Mhm.
at LFSs, and I'm always like, I want to rescue them, and oh, I have
Yeah.
before too. So yeah,
are they
Mhm.
taking
Yeah,
I'm just hoping you succeed.
are
I
they
hope
taking frozen?
they are. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
The thing is,
At the
uh,
store, they
we-
weren't. Well, they were taking frozen brine, but not mice. But they switched over fine. So.
yeah, the
Oh,
thing is with
good.
those, they're going to grow very slowly, much more slowly than what you're
Mhm.
used to seeing with an erectus.
Yeah.
And it's like Dan has said, they typically, you don't see a whole lot of reproduction in them until
Mhm.
at least 3.5 to 4 years a lot of times.
Oh, okay.
And I'm still not
What?
convinced if it's dietary, something that we're missing from their natural habitat or what.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's my best guess. But we're obviously missing something in there to accelerate growth like we see in some of the other species.
Or
They
maybe they
don't
just grow
seem
slow.
very hungry. I mean, they don't seem hungry like Erectus. Like Erectus, they'll chase it down the food, and
Yeah.
the combs, they'll sit there and look at it, and inspect it from
Well,
every angle.
They
I
sound
started
like
calling them
Barbori. Cheryl, are they very much like
I started
Barborian
calling them
eating?
rock crawlers years ago because
Mhm.
when I first started getting them, the only thing we could get were wild caught.
Hmm.
Mm.
So they were used to hunting, and they would literally spend the entire day. When they'll use just the tip of their tail as a holdfast in one hole on a rock, and they remind me of hummingbirds inserting their snout in each hole and going over all the rock. And
Mhm.
it was a very slow, methodical hunting. It wasn't like a rectus speed.
Hey, Cheryl, have you ever kept Barbori?
No.
Okay, because they sound just I wish Ray. I hope Ray's okay. Ray, I hope
Yeah.
you're okay.
They,
But they sound like Barbori because I would get so ticked off at these. They were my favorite species, but man, they would not eat frozen mysis if it didn't have eyeballs. It had to have
well,
eyeballs. They had to inspect it.
the thing
So,
is that they live their habitats overlap,
mm, gotcha. Well,
and so
Heather. Oh, go
it
ahead.
would make
Sorry.
sense that there would be this very distinct behavioral similarities between the two species.
Yeah.
And do you think that that's because that's because like in the place that they come from, they don't have to feed like crazy, like the food is more plentiful, or
Remember, combs are considered one of the few actual reef-dwelling species,
right,
and they're very narrow-bodied. They're very agile. It's just like why do they oftentimes complete an egg transfer while hitched? Well, if they're
right,
used to being in a high current environment, they probably don't have any other choices. And so it doesn't surprise me, but it's definitely a different world that they live in from Erectus or Reedi.
right. Well, I Heather, you already know she's sitting right here, but Cheryl's here. I can't help much because I've never kept combs. I'm jealous as heck. Not about the circumstance because I hate hearing that they, were at a pet store that and too small. But I love that you are trying and that Cheryl's here to help you. And I hope you succeed. But they are eating and they seem good, right?
Yeah, all you can do is cross your fingers
Yeah.
and hope.
Yeah.
The thing, what's funny is a friend of mine was married to a marine biologist, and one of the areas that he was working specifically with aquaculture, and he went into the areas around Vietnam and Thailand and stuff, which is where the combs are supposed to be from. And he never seen a combs until he saw pictures of my seahorses.
Oh, wow.
He had never seen one, which told me there's something wrong with where the geographical distribution is on these species.
Gotcha. Interesting. And Heather, anything to report about him so far? How long have you had him?
I've had them a little over a week now. Now, actually, I was just gonna ask Cheryl, do you think they're okay in a 20 at their size? I mean, because like I lost them in a 30. Like I had to stand there a few minutes and just hunt them down, and I was worried about them not, because of the eating habits, not getting enough food. Do you think they're all right in a 20 for now, or should I go back to the 30?
What are they in right now? Are they in a 20 right now?
It's a 20. Oh.
I'd leave them in the 20 until they get to at least 2.5 to 3 inches.
Agree. Yeah.
Okay.
You've only got 2.
And then I can upgrade. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
And then
only 2.
Wait. See, Heather, you don't give yourself enough credit. You had the answer before you asked. And no, I totally agree because, I know the combs aren't like dwarfs at all, but I'm just thinking 2 smaller seahorses, it might be better to have more. You got to keep the quality up, but right. Okay, hey guys, we could talk all night, but it's 2 till 10 and my kids are bugging me. So, did you have any other questions though, Heather, that you wanted live, or we can take it offline?
No, I'm good for now. Yep.
Okay, well, we want you to come back every week. We want you to come back every week. We can't wait to see Chris's review of the books. We can't wait to see Heather's success with combs, crossing fingers, and also her seahorse in Mike French's new book. I'll put all the links in the description when we're done. And Holly, did you have anything else? I feel like
No, I'm just watching. My seahorses are having a party right now because their light's not usually on at this time.
Oh gosh!
I turned it on so you could see me, but it switches off automatically at 7 o'clock here, so it's going to go off any second now. But they're not used to having it bright.
Yep.
And they're all chasing each other and playing, and and I'm like, I better turn the light off, or I'm gonna have baby seahorses out of this tank before I even get any out.
It's bedtime, kids.
Teenagers. There's
it's
a real
bedtime.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Holly, we can't wait to see your fry that are coming now. And
we can trace it back to tonight, I bet. We'll see in a few weeks.
That's right. Okay, guys, glass is empty. Love you all. We'll post the last week's after party. If we have a really crazy after party this week, I'll post that too. But everything I promised will be there, and we'll see you next week. Happy Wine Wednesday. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Me and Holly are the only one that cheers. We're gonna have to fix that. Cheers. Good night.